again from the top of West Mountain, Scranton, Pennsylvania. Good morning, everybody. This is 94.3 FM, the talk of Sanity Check, Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike. We'll have X on the line. Frank Sorick is in studio. We have some other special guests stopping in. So if you want to start your weekend off right, you want to blow off some steam, you know what that number is, 888-577-4487. That's 888-577-4487. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. You know, here in Texas, I think we're getting a little bit like Pennsylvania. The two big topics in legislation today in Texas is gay marriage and medical marijuana.
Wow.
And it seems, yeah. So this is but you know, Lou, somewhere along the line, myself personally, pretty much had it with the two topics. You know, we've got so many other huge issues, like a $18+ trillion debt, and we keep talking about gay marriage and medical marijuana.
I thought
enough is enough already.
I thought you were going to talk about all the rain. We finally have rain here a little bit today, and certainly where you're at, I asked you because you guys down Dallas way, and every day it seems like when I turn on the weather or something, it seems like Dallas, and you're obviously a little south and east of Dallas, right, Michael? That
is correct, and you're right. Dallas has been getting pounded, but right here in good old Blanco, Texas, it has been raining like it's northeast Pennsylvania.
And we've got nothing. It's the first rain we've had. It's been, but we can stay off the weather. That's not the important things today. Though.
Yeah,
so,
but it is really interesting. You know, the transitions from. Matter of fact, I'm a hero here in Blanco because everyone is convinced that I moved from Pennsylvania and brought the rain with me. So I'm pretty much ready to run for office.
I wish you could take some of the corruption with you, but
he's going to run for office. Give him a chance.
Give him a chance, for goodness sake. So Michael, this morning we have not done this before. We have never had anybody in studio that we're promoting their fundraising, crowdfunding, Indiegogo. Crowdfunding, but today was somebody special, somebody that's worked with us for, I guess, a couple years, or at least it's been a couple years now that we had the opportunity to meet Lindy Morelli, and she has the Lighthouse in Scranton, and certainly if you've been a reader of the Independent Gazette, you've seen some of her writings and some of the things that she has been able to do. And good morning, Lindy.
Good morning.
Good morning. And so today is the launch of a Indiegogo fundraiser for you, and you have a 5013C nonprofit organization in Scranton, and it has to do with pastoral counseling, spiritual mentoring, companion, natural healing. You certainly play music and hospitality. You've done that at our rallies and showed up there. You do advocacy work for injustice and the wrongfully convicted. We'll get into that here a little bit too. And the co-founding a virtual Christian faith-based sharing community with those of disabilities, community of hope. Do you want to talk a little bit about the community of hope and some of the things that you have done and why you're doing what you're doing?
I think the main purpose of Lighthouse has always been to help people who are not being helped by other existing ministries or social service organizations. And we have always had a very personal involvement with the people who have come to us. Lighthouse has always been a home for people who have no other avenues, basically, and that includes anyone and everyone in various times and places in life. Right now, our focus is to help people who have been wrongfully convicted, and we also still do all the other things that you mentioned.
Once again, and today, John Manko, one of our IT guy, I believe, helped you put this together and did some videos, and so that's if one goes to Indiegogo and Lighthouse Scranton, and that was just launched today. And I'm going to urge certainly not only our readers but our listeners here on 94.3 FM to go there and learn a little bit more about you. And once again, Michael. You know, Lindy, you might have met Lindy before you left. I'm not quite sure, but she's written some really heartfelt stories in the Independent Gazette, and has been part of since Ingrid Martinique, and I believe first got in touch with you, Lindy, and ever since then, you've been a big supporter of what we're doing, and we're certainly a big supporter of yours. Pastoral counseling, it says people of all walks of life come to Lighthouse to talk about the obstacles and life-altering problems. Here they find solutions, hope, strategies to build and take positive steps. I'm also aware that you've now made 6 trips to Detroit, correct? What is that all about?
Well, I've been going to Grand Rapids to help somebody who was incarcerated there for 20 years, wrongfully convicted of murder, and that is due to corruption in the county that the person was prosecuted in. And I became personally involved and personally aware of these things. I had been doing a lot of prison ministry up for 20 years or so, and I knew that this existed, but to become personally involved with 2 or 3 people in the past 3 years who have been wrongfully convicted by grave miscarriages of justice and who have no voice, who have no avenue. If somebody doesn't have money and somebody doesn't have somebody to stick by them and to support them and help them through the long journey of trying to get things exposed, they have no avenues, and people can stay in prison for many, many years. Many people would just their lives would be ruined by such a thing. And they need someone to take an interest and to really know and understand that these things do happen to people, and that these things affect people widespread. They affect their families, they affect their lives. It's a travesty. It's outrageous.
A community of hope. Community of Hope, Michael, is a virtual, contemplative, Christian, faith-based community for those with disabilities in prison and or living circumstances. We provide encouragement, fellowship, and spiritual nourishment via email, phone, and regular mail for people who are not able to connect with other spiritual communities. One of the things that's part of that is that it says faith-based community for those with disabilities. Talking with John Manco, who once again is our IT specialist here at the Independent Gazette and Muckraker, and we got to talking about the Indiegogo platform that you're using right now to try to raise some money for Lighthouse Scranton. And one of the things that he had told me was when we were talking and, just in conversation, he's a big fan of yours, by the way, and he says that, you have accomplished more and do more for individuals with less than 95% of the people out there, and that's one of the reasons why he's involved with this and trying to help support you. Now, Michael, let us just be aware of a few things also. 6 times, and I'm aware of what you're doing here in Detroit. Certainly understand what you're trying to help somebody in Detroit, but 6 times now you have went to Detroit. And tried to help an individual that is incarcerated. But part of that, if I remember correctly, you're a Carmelite, and part of that is I believe you have had the blessing of the local church that you're allowed to now start a community, if I'm correct, a Carmelite community for the disabled, correct?
It's a Carmelite-based community for people who realize that that life is a kind of a mystery, that we're all on a journey, and that the answers to finding some kind of purpose in life are within our own selves, and that we all have our own individual purpose, our own life with God. Everyone is an individual on their own journey, but the reason why I'm going to Grand Rapids or the Michigan area is because someone there is wrongfully convicted. They've been suffering for 20 years with their family, and I do try to do things in a personal way, person to person. That's what Lighthouse is. We become very personally involved in individuals' lives. We depend on divine providence to provide for everything that we have. We don't get, we don't have endowments. We don't have large sources of money. We just do whatever we're able to do with the resources that come to us.
And so the first time I went to Lighthouse, obviously I was very impressed, and you met me at the door. And when we talk about disabilities, and once again, I brought up about what you're overcoming to do the stuff that you're doing, and why somebody like John Manco says that, the obstacles that have been thrown at you, and yet you're doing all these things. I know you've housed individuals that have been homeless at the Lighthouse. And once again, folks, this is if you just you could Google Indiegogo, but Lighthouse Scranton, and we certainly want to encourage those. I'm certainly going to do this later on in the day. Certainly make a donation to Lighthouse Scranton, but it's more than just that, Lindy. Certainly when we talk about obstacles, and you met me at the door, and obviously, and for the folks that don't know, you're a Carmelite, but you've also been blind since birth, correct?
Yes, my sister and I are twins, identical twins, and we had an accident at birth with the incubator, too much oxygen in the incubator, and I've been totally blind since birth. I was able to receive a good education, but everything is a little more complicated when you're blind.
And certainly even writing for us and doing some other stuff. And you're always asking, Michael, Lindy's always asking, what can I do? What can I help? I still remember the first conversation you and me had. It has to be years ago now. And you were looking for, perhaps some kind of media to get the word out. And you really said it was fate that somehow you ran across the Independent Gazette. Somebody must have read it to you, obviously. And you said, boy, you wanted to be more involved with what we're doing. And so, Michael, just, think about this, and once again, we all have things to do, in this busy world every day, running around. Many of us are working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. And sometimes we maybe feel sorry for ourselves. But when Lindy, when I look at you and what you've done and come into rallies and you play some great music, you're a musician, and some of the things that you need to overcome. Once again, Michael, 6 times going to Detroit to help somebody. Lindy, I know you don't have a whole bunch of resources behind you, but you're finding a way. And for individuals out there that might be moved by what you're doing. I mean, I'm certainly moved by what you're doing, and no matter what it is, just even research Lighthouse Scranton, and perhaps maybe they could help out in ways, Lindy, that so that you could continue your work. But Mike, you're going to work today, and so many folks may be listening, going to work today, and you say, boy, I wish I didn't have to do this, wish I didn't have to do that. Or it's hard. It's just hard. Everyday living, Michael, is hard. But when we start weighing it against what Lindy has done here, and going to Detroit 6 times, you're blind. You have to go. You're fighting obstacles, and you're finding a way to get those resources to do what you feel is what you need to do, and you're finding some way resources to house the homeless here in Scranton. I just find it to be remarkable. I really do, Michael.
It really is, Lindy, and my hat's off to you. Being in the healthcare profession, pharmacy, I see every day how people are suffering and how it shouldn't be, Lou. It was 20 years ago, it was a whole different look at healthcare, and it was meant to healing the people with relationships with your physician, relationships with your healthcare provider. And today, it's not there. Everybody just seems to be thrown and cast aside, and you're on your own. So, there's certainly plenty of need for what Lindy's doing, and plenty of folks out there that's looking for that help. So, it's certainly a worthwhile cause, Lou.
I look at hospitality in the past. Lighthouse provided a home for over 60 homeless and displaced people in the community. Lindy, you're a really remarkable individual. Is an accomplished flutist and vocalist. I'm looking at the music part of this. She travels widely to provide music for churches, schools, prisons, hospices, hospitals, weddings, and community services. Her music is original, comforting, and uplifting. Lindy, even with some of the obstacles, you've delivered the newspapers for us. It's mind-boggling, and certainly anything that we can do and to help you move forward and doing God's work, as they say, Michael. I think that's real important. We're coming to the end of this segment, Lindy. Is there anything else you want to finish up with, or certainly the information on how people could connect with you?
I think that everybody needs a voice and everybody needs a chance, especially those who are isolated and impoverished in whatever way. And thank you for your support. And I want to continue to support the work of the Independent Gazette, because I believe that everybody needs a voice, especially those who have none.
Right. Lindy, thank you so much for coming in today. I know you have to leave. You're off to some doctor's appointments and all the other things that have to happen today. John DiLiberto is going to give you a lift down, and we'll stay in touch, obviously. So thank you for your support. You listen to 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be back.
Listen.
Well, I hope they listened to the last segment, Frank, because that's something you could take home and bank on for sure. So, good morning, X. We're going to bring X on right off the bat here this morning.
Guys.
Also, how's it going, X?
Not too bad. Just enjoying a good morning here. Finally warm around where I am. So,
where are you at? In Texas?
he's in one of them bunkers, Franks. Unknown. He's part of the Gazette, for goodness sakes. We can't put our locations out there too much, right? You never know. So X, I was talking with you yesterday. I talked to you quite a bit, but you were on all kinds of rants, and certainly we could bring up some of the stuff that's happened this past week with. What the heck's his name? Stenophilus and a few others. You were just off the charts there yesterday for a while.
well, I mean, again, another week goes by, and there's just more and more examples of the hypocrisy existing within the system that we have.
No.
That tries to masquerade the words law, justice, and fairness. They seem to only apply when it's when you get stopped for a traffic ticket or something along those lines. But when it comes to the major crimes, from my perspective, it's always completely out of proportion. So this past week, Eric Clapper, John Clapper, I forgot, Clapper, head of the NSA.
I'm glad.
Told everybody.
X, I'm glad you're not in studio with us because I know exactly. And Michael, you know exactly we had to stop Sorick from opening his mouth. I know exactly what was on his mind here. But for those that are not part of it, you have to be part of it. If you ever come into the studio here, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. But go ahead, X. I didn't mean
Tell
to
us
stop.
your story about the Clapper.
So what happened was Clapper this past week, when it comes to admitting his. Did the NSA do blanket mass surveillance and so forth? And he was caught, because of the Edward Snowden reservations, lying on the lying to Congress. What did he do? His answer for why he lied was, you ready for this? He forgot. So he's head of the NSA, and he forgot that the NSA is doing illegal bulk collection of data without a warrant.
Can you forget to do your taxes? Is that? Can we use that line? I forgot.
Well, I got stopped this past week for going down the street, and I didn't see the sign. So when I go, I didn't see the sign, or I forgot that's a one-way street. Do you think the cop's going to let me off for I forgot it's a one-way street?
It's unbelievable, really.
But then throw Stephanopoulos on top of it. This past week, look, I've talked about this multiple times on the show. I'm sitting there at the what is considered the Spagos of Washington, D.C., this Italian restaurant called Cafe Milano. And sure enough, who is in Spagos? I look across the table. There's Michael J. Fox and his wife, George Stephanopoulos and his wife, and Jay Carney, White House spokesman at the time, and they're all having dinner.
Big happy family.
Now, I don't care what it is, but the press should never have a relationship where they're going to dinners with their wives at the fancy restaurants in town. If anything, George Stephanopoulos and Jay Carney should be people that are afraid of each other from the standpoint of one person's always on after the other one to try to root them out. But Stephanopoulos, with his past week in his 75, 3 separate times he gave checks. Of course, did he disclose it to his employer and all this other stuff? No.
He forgot this stuff, remember? That's going to be a great line. I forgot.
Well, of course. I'm gonna start. I'll get a whole bunch of my collection of everything in the world. I'm gonna go forward for Judge, and when he pulls, says something about my driving record or something like that, I'm gonna use it. But Judge, I forgot. Got Eric Clapper off.
Yeah.
Judge, I didn't know. Judge, I don't recall. It's like Eric Holder when they tried to they busted him for pretending that he didn't know about Fast and Furious going on.
Not to worry,
I didn't
X.
get the memo.
I'm sure
I
the
didn't get
judge
the
will
memo,
give
or I
you
forgot
time
about
to
the memo.
remember.
I got the memo. What's that, Frank?
I said, I'm sure the judge will give you time to remember.
Yeah, one way or the other. Just have it. We have a nice warm seat for you there.
They're,
with a couple
they're
bars
good like
around it.
that.
Yeah,
Don't you worry.
Don't you worry. Right. But once again, I mean, we're always pointing out the two-tiered system of justice in America, and Michael, I think that this is one of the places we really need to focus. I really do, because we do have, these races coming up here locally. We have Jared Kane, and once again running for magistrate. He's been in the news a little bit there.
Let me just say, most of the people who signed his petition probably forgot they signed it by now.
Michael, just to fill our listeners in and fill you in a little bit, evidently, you know who Kane is, and he's been a magistrate, or his father's been a magistrate for how long now?
Since 1985.
Since 1985. And then, of course, Jared, is he about 33 years old? I think he lives at home, doesn't he?
He does. He lives with mom and dad. He cuts meat for a living at the supermarket, and now he wants to be the judge. And some of the people who signed his petition moved out of town back in 2013, according to notices posted on the doors of their vacant homes. Some of them have moved away to Mexico, we've heard, probably a few months prior to signing his petition.
This is unbelievable.
And most of the people, now 10, have come forward saying they must have forgotten they signed
They signed his petition.
One lady is very adamant, she told the Citizen's Voice, I do not recall signing that. So she probably
Michael, we looked at these petitions. I looked at these petitions last night on Mark Robbins' blog, right? And
he has all of them posted there.
Petitions posted there, and folks, once again, go to what is Robbins' blog?
WB Truth.
WB Truth. So if
you just drop that into Google, it's the first thing that comes up.
If you go to WB Truth, guys, you gotta. I look at these signatures, Michael. It's incredible to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they look all the same, Michael. And once again, here's a guy running for judge, and there's all kinds of stuff, or magistrate. And there's all kinds of stuff going on out there. A
magistrate is the citizen's first line of defense. I mean, as X pointed out, there's a two-tiered system out there, and you don't always feel like you got a fair shake when that officer stops you at 2 a.m. and pulls you over, comes up to the window and hands you your list of citations, or God forbid, as a case is going on in a federal courthouse right now, is even worse. The magistrate is your first line of defense. Everyone knows you don't argue with the police officer at that moment on the street. You take your citations, you report to the magistrate, and that's where you'll have your day in court. So if you don't have an honest judge, what good is any of it?
Talking about judges and magistrates.
Well, that's kind of hard to find, though, Frank, is an honest judge.
No, it's not. Vote. It really is not. Just vote for Tom Malloy.
Well, in that race, as we're talking about individuals running for magistrate, I do have Bob, and Bob, I always get your last name wrong. Polkovitch, I believe it is, but you're also running for magistrate, and once again, very refreshing, guys. He's a farmer. He's actually somebody that
so someone who works for a living,
sense,
right?
Perhaps,
Yeah,
works for a living. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, Lou, how are you?
We're doing good. Fill us in a little bit. Tell us what's happening. I know, we're going to touch a little bit more on Charlie Spano and some of the stuff that's happening with the Republican Party. But as I understand it, you're running for magistrate in what district and what are some of the townships? Because I know Scott Township, I believe. We know we have listeners and folks that follow what we're doing. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and where you're running. Let's start out with that.
Okay. Well, I'm a farmer from Benton Township. I had gone to school down in the city of Reading to be a police officer, and the whole area is changing around here. The same things that were going on down in Reading years ago, or the drug problems and stuff, are creeping up into our area.
Right.
I don't know that I know all of the answers on how to resolve that, but there's definitely some creativity that needs to be done. The community needs to be linked together a little more. And I just don't see it in most of these districts around here. You know, people kind of feel the system is separate from them, and the system is supposed to be, you know, an extension of the community. But the district covers Benton Township, Scott Township, Fell Township, Carbondale, Greenfield. It's a fairly large, diverse district. Lots of little communities with different issues that I've put the time in and gone to all the township meetings to see what issues each little town had, you know.
Certainly, we talked a little bit about, and matter of fact, I want to bring that up later on today. I heard Charlie Spano on the David Madeira show, and he threw a challenge out to his challenges to have a debate on the David Madeira show on Monday at 8:00. So I'm hoping that happens. But that all being said, you are you're going to be on the ballot as a Republican in this district, correct, Bob?
Well, a Republican and a Democrat.
Okay, cross-filed.
I am a registered Republican. I'm the only registered Republican in the race.
Okay, that's where it was, right.
With the cross-filing with these judge races, a lot of people don't realize that just because they're on the Republican side doesn't mean you're looking at Republicans, and just because they're on the Democratic side doesn't mean you're looking at registered Democrats. You know, I'd encourage people, go to your, you know, like the Lackawanna County GOP page. It'll show you, I mean, the 2 magistrate races here in Lackawanna County, there are only 2 Republicans that are running, 1 in each district.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that, and you got to look for yourself, unfortunately.
So if you're going as a registered Republican, they need to know that you're the only registered Republican running, and that's one of the reasons we have you on today. I'm glad you called in today.
The cross-filing system for magistrates for school board is a little confusing for voters out there who really don't know who's the Republican.
We're looking at having another rally June 20th to expose what's going on in our court system. Guys, this past week we visited John Udicek's office, Jerry Mullery's office, asking them what they need from us to use their resources in these offices, in these legislative offices, to start calling for public hearings. Guys, we want public hearings. This past Thursday, I was at with David and a few other folks. They were broadcasting remotely from Keystone College. Michael, as you know, I boarded Keystone College, so I stepped down. I had an opportunity to talk to Karen Boback, who said to pass on hellos to you and to your wife down there, and Tara Toohill. Yes, come see us. We want to learn more. So we're gonna do all this stuff, and we're gonna bring what we're doing to these offices and certainly ask what's going on. Before we get into all these conversations, Charlie Spano called in. Good morning, Charlie.
Hey, how are you doing, Lou?
We're doing good. Tell us what's going on. Are we going to have a debate? I want a debate. Where's that debate? I heard you're on the Madeira show. Hopefully, I doubt it, but maybe we all get lucky. Maybe David will accommodate. I'm sure he will if there is a debate.
I will be in the studio at 8 a.m. Monday morning, and I would challenge my opponents, William T. Jones II and Laureen Cummings, to come into the studio to debate the issues.
Briefly.
Debate everything that's been going on in the last few days. And let's find out who the people are and why those people in Harrisburg feel that I should be hammered so that one of their, a possible associate of theirs, can be sitting on the commissioner's chair.
Just so our listeners understand, and certainly X and Mike, and you're running for Lackawanna County Commissioner, correct?
I'm a Republican candidate for Lackawanna County Commissioner. I am one of 3 people. 2 will be elected on May 19th. I'm a retired teacher with a pension and benefits and will not take or accept the pension and benefits from the county. As a retired teacher who does not wish another career. I don't have to worry about calculating the political impact of decisions I may make as a commissioner, because I don't want another career.
Right.
Somebody else running, maybe trying to build a career. I am not.
Charlie, you've certainly been engaged in the community. Certainly, we've crossed paths on a number of different rallies and all that stuff. I think you would serve well. I think you would certainly be able to handle the pressures of being a Lackawanna County Commissioner. I do believe that you would help in the transparency factor. So, from that standpoint, I think. Or I certainly, it's my belief that the community would be well served if somebody like yourself would be on, be there for certainly shedding the light. I certainly look at some of the other folks that are running there on the other side, and it would be nice to make sure that we have a voice that is willing to speak up, and you've never been afraid to do that.
Not at all. We've had Second Amendment rallies. I've been to the Patriot Connector meeting a couple of times. As you mentioned, you and I have crossed paths before. I would be able to handle the job because everything that has occurred to me in my life has made me stronger.
Yep.
And you have to be tough, and I mean tough, to be a county commissioner.
Listening to the show,
tough enough.
Yeah, listening to the David show the other day, there was one thing that jumped out at me. You were talking about your age a little bit, and this is not you're not looking at this as your second career. You're not looking at this as a stepping stone for another office. You're taking this as this is it. I mean, if you were elected as a commissioner, this is what your deal is, and you're going to speak out. Michael, there's certain things, you know that too. When you don't have to worry about what you say, you become a dangerous commodity for those in power. So certainly that's where you're going with this, correct?
Absolutely, Lou. I think that may be a little bit why they might be somewhat afraid of me. On both sides, probably, but certainly on the Republican side, it's very disheartening to see that the attack machine is in full gear against me, and that's okay. That's part of the deal.
Right.
I have nothing to hide. Anybody can ask me anything about anything they want, which is why I want to debate them 8:00 in the morning on Dave's show on Monday. I invite them again to come, and we shall find out exactly what William T. Jones II does for a living in Harrisburg as a registered lobbyist. And we would like to talk to Ms. Cummings about, how she feels about her partner allegedly blindsiding her through this mailer.
Yep. All good, Charlie. We're going to be taking a break here shortly. I just have one or two other things I need to cover. How could folks get in touch with you? You only have a couple more days if you throw that out there. And
I have a personal Facebook page, so anybody wants to comment or ask me anything, they can go to my personal Facebook page. Just look it up, Charles Spano, on Facebook. They'll see all the pictures. I've provided a more comprehensive selection of pictures for the Better PA PAC to take from my Facebook page. The last one they used made me look too fat. I really was annoyed by that.
Not a problem there, Charlie. That's not. I don't think that's a qualification for serving as commissioner. So thanks for calling in. We appreciate your call, Michael. And X. Before we go to break, I just thanking some individuals. And we're going to play a little clip here. And I really, 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 really want to thank David Madeira for his interviews with these Supreme Court justices. This is the beginning of having media talking and asking questions that we don't normally hear them ask. A lot of them perhaps might not come on this show, Michael, but I'm really glad that David's able to get them on, and at the same time able to ask the questions that, about jury nullification, about the Judicial Review Board, whether they want to have cameras in courtrooms. We're going to play I want to play a clip going into break here, guys, and then when we come back, we'll probably stay on this topic because I think not only is it revealing, but it's really important that these questions start getting asked, and I just love the fact that David was able to get these questions in, and it will continue moving on as we go forward. Let's just play that one clip.
The Judicial Conduct Board has responsibility for holding the judicial members accountable. We obviously, this signal broadcasts off of the mountain in Scranton. We cover northeastern Pennsylvania, where that incredible judicial shame was brought on the nation with cash, Kids for Cash. What needs to be done in terms of either reforming the Judicial Conduct Board or other changes to make sure that those who are elected to the position you're seeking are held accountable to the highest standards?
Well, I think the Judicial Conduct Board needs to follow through on investigations more thoroughly. And what I mean by that is there have been a lot of investigations that they've conducted where the judges have been approached and they've been given the opportunity to quietly retire or resign or step away from the bench. And their improprieties never really come to public light. I think that's wrong. I think that the public has a right to know when a judge has engaged in misconduct. And I think that the Judicial Conduct Board should not give the option of these people leaving quietly with pensions in most situations. I think that they should follow through and prosecute people. I think judges should be held to a higher standard.
The answer you're looking for lies right here.
Sanity Check with Tea Party Mike. 3 FM, the talker.
Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they just fall off. But I still wake up, I still see your gospel. Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. What do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore.
We're back. Going into that last break, that was Rebecca Warren. She's 24 years as an attorney, and she's running for Supreme Court Justice. Hey guys, how telling was that? We've talked about the Judicial Review Board and the way the lawyers and the judges they protect themselves, they judge themselves. Here's a woman running for Supreme Court Justice, says that they sweep this stuff under the carpet. This was mind-boggling to me. I don't know if it jumped out at anybody else, but listening to David's interview and talking about jury nullification and talking about cameras in the courtrooms and all these other things, and certainly I would encourage going to David's site. And all his podcasts are up, but and John, maybe we could put a link to that third hour of David's show on our sites. But to me, it was just totally incredible that a woman running for Supreme Court judge is now talking about this, and I don't think that would have ever come up. I don't think that topic would have ever come up if David hadn't asked that. And I think it's just telling. I really do, guys. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
What amazes me is this culture of corruption, why this has become such a common day and acceptable behavior. And where does it start? I mean, do they go into office saying, this is where I'm going to be, or are they, pounded every day with, offers to, if you do this, then you'll get this and reward? And where has the moral compass gone within our courts, within the individual, as the judge, who's taken on such a huge responsibility, why they think it's okay, Lou. This is what confuses me. Why they think it's okay to do what they do.
And then, Michael, even more so than when they do get judged, that why these judges and why these people that are supposedly looking into this feel as though that they need to hide it, that somehow they're protecting the judiciary or the integrity. They're not doing any such thing. It is absolutely incredible to me that, that these things need to come to light. Go ahead, X.
Yeah, the system is designed to, no matter what happens, insulate and protect itself from any threat of its legitimacy. The idea being that no matter what happens, this is the only way to do things. We can, you ever notice it's never like the foundation of what we've built is flawed and we have to start over. It's always, well, we could just fix it. We just need to tweak it. Obamacare, there's nothing wrong with it. And we just need to adjust this or adjust that. That's what will happen with these type of programs. And when we're looking at different bodies within government, it's always about, nobody ever goes, we screwed up. We got to go back to the drawing boards. Let's start with something new, because the problem is so many are now invested within the system itself to perpetuate what's going on. When a lot of times, the thing about a business is if you run a business and the business screws up, you go out of business, and you don't sit there and the banker comes along and gives you a bunch of money so you can start all over, and keep the business going, because obviously you're not serving your clientele. But government doesn't work that way. If you don't serve your clientele, you just basically have a new program and nobody ever gets rid of it.
And we're not going to get a chance, only because the time's going to run out here, to do all the clips, but certainly our listeners, I'm going to encourage, and John's in here and he's going to get that third hour up on our sites, or go to David's site, or go to the Bull Gold media site, and I would really encourage those questions that David was able to ask some of these Supreme Court justices. But he also asked a couple other things about cameras in the courtrooms. We're not going to be able to get into all of that. We know that there's cameras in the Supreme Court justices and some of these higher courts. I think it's more important, once again, in these lower courts, that they're watched. Certainly, let's move into the 21st century and not have somebody there as a stenographer. That's very, not only are we paying for this stuff, but certainly there's mistakes made. Michael, once again, being in the courtrooms, everything's off the record. This is off the record. Don't put this on the record. I mean, that comes up. But David also had the opportunity to talk about jury nullification. And we don't have time to get into all of those things. But listening to what they said about jury nullification, and it's a tap dance, I have to learn a little bit more. Here's the question, folks, and this is for our listeners. When you go to these forums, all these other things, forget, when you ask these judges about jury nullification, here's one question for them that needs to be asked. Would you hold a defense attorney in contempt if they inform the jury of their rights? I think that's extremely important, because you know what? They do the tap dance, they do the 3-card Monty, Michael, as we say, and what happens is, that's a straightforward question. If a defense attorney decided to instruct the jury of their rights, and once again, I encourage folks to go to FIGA.org. That's the Fully Informed Jury Association site. Go to our sites, learn a little bit more about this, because it's incredibly important. We got another call, Gary from Mill City. Good morning, Gary.
Morning, guys. Did Michael change his registration out there in Texas yet? Libertarian or conservative?
Oh, Michael, he's going to stay on you about this. But go ahead, Gary. What else you got for him?
Real quick, what Mike and X were talking about, when you're campaigning, reforming the courts, doing anything, conservatives getting fiscal matters under, we vote for these people for the promises, and they never uphold their promises.
Yep.
And when they misbehave, break the law, they have no penalties. We just keep reelecting the same clowns.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, we the voters, we the citizens, are responsible for this train wreck that's happening in this country right now. And we keep rewarding the engineers of the trains. And it all comes back on us.
It does. It really does, Gary. And once again, I'm sorry to cut you off because we are out of time. But
have a good weekend, boys.
You too, there, Gary.
Yeah.
And guys, Frank, Jason, X. Do you guys have any last comments? We're right down to. We're getting right down to it, X. Certainly, if you have parting words.
Many a week I sit there and worry what we're going to talk about, but usually by the end of the week, there's so much crap out there, right? We always have something.
I know. It really is, Frank.
Let's just remind the voters to get out on Tuesday, vote early, vote often.
That's what we got Frank on here for, Michael. Some words of wisdom from Wilkes-Barre.
From Wilkes-Barre. Vote early, vote often. Make sure your deceased relatives vote at least twice.
Michael, we're done, man. This was a quick show today. Sorry you guys didn't have a little bit more opportunity to talk, but nonetheless, Michael, you got the last words.
Hey, just God bless all.
God bless everybody. We'll be back next week.